Rakiura Track is the most southerly of New Zealand's 10 Great Walks. Located at the tip of the South Island on pristine Stewart Island, this walk offers a glimpse into a prehistoric past. If the Rakiura Track Great Walk is on your bucket list, then stay tuned, because in this video I'm giving you everything you need to know to plan your hike of the Rakiura Track. Rakiura, or Stewart Island, is New Zealand's third largest island, having a total of 1,570 square kilometres, with 85% of its landmass comprising the Rakiura National Park. The island is one of New Zealand's premier wildlife and environmental sanctuaries, largely due to its low permanent population of around 400 people. The name Rakiura translates to the great and deep blushing of Te Raki Tamo, a Māori chief whose glowing features were believed to give rise to sunsets, sunrises and the aurora australis. Since 2019, Rakiura has been internationally recognised as a dark sky reserve due to its low levels of light pollution. At just over 32 kilometres in length, the Rakiura Track covers only a tiny portion of the island and takes trampers 2 to 3 days to complete. Lying between the 46th and 47th parallels, the island's unsettled weather makes this track the muddiest and most rugged in the Great Walk network, although the grade of the track is relatively easy. It's possible to hike the Rakiura Track in either direction, although officially the track begins at Lee Bay and traverses in an anti-clockwise direction to the terminus at Fern Gully Road. Trampers must either organise shuttle transport to the trailheads or walk along the road from Oban. The Rakiura Track is found on Stewart Island, the third largest and southernmost of New Zealand's islands. A 3-day through hike of the Rakiura Track might begin in Bluff, where you'll travel via ferry to the small township of Oban, the largest settlement on the island. From there, you'll make your way to the official start point at Lee Bay, either by shuttle bus or by a 1-hour road walk on the island's network of small roads. Arriving at Lee Bay, take a picture at the chain link sculpture which marks the official entrance to the Rakiura National Park and the start of the track. Wind your way around the rugged coastline of Lee Bay to Little River, where you'll cross the first bridge on your way towards Peters Point and Maori Beach campsite. Stop for a short break here before hiking along the sand to the swing bridge at the far end of the beach. From the bridge you'll climb steeply to a forested ridge with a carpet of ferns before descending to Port William Bay. Passing the campsite, continue on for another 5 minutes to Port William Hut, where you'll spend your first night. Rise early in the morning to catch the sunrise over Port William Bay before beginning your journey to North Arm Hut. Retracing your steps to the North Arm Track junction, climb a small incline before trekking downhill past some historic locomotives. You're into the worst of the mud now, so pay careful attention to where you place your feet. This section of regenerating podocarp and virgin forest is beautiful, so don't forget to stop often and look up. The track is predominantly flat through here, with 1 or 2 climbs up to 200 metres. After 2 to 3 hours you'll reach a marine buoy hanging from the halfway tree. It will take around 1 to 2 hours to get to North Arm from here in a general downhill direction. From the North Arm junction it's around 10 minutes or so to the hut. Once settled, make sure to take some time to explore the nearby beach and bay, or even brave the water and take your most southerly swim in New Zealand. North Arm Hut will probably be your best opportunity to spot kiwi at night, so keep yourself amused by watching out for white-tailed deer. They may graze on the grass outside the hut in the early evening. On your final day, the track undulates up and down consistently through stands of kamahi and rimu trees before skirting along the coastline. At Sawdust Bay there is a toilet and a good spot to watch wading birds feeding. Further along the track, enjoy exploring an old mining site before a short side trail leads down to the water's edge at Kaipipi Bay. Enjoy lunch or a longer break here before rejoining the track along the old main road, an hour-long walk or so which brings you to the end of the track at Fern Gully Road, where you'll collect your pre-arranged shuttle or walk 20 to 30 minutes back along the roads to Oban. Being just that little bit further south and isolated from the mainland, Weather on Rakiura can be unpredictable. Summer highs can hit 20 degrees Celsius, whereas in winter averages can drop to just 6 degrees. Despite popular perceptions, rainfall on the island is similar to what may be experienced in Auckland, but it usually rains for shorter periods across multiple days. The tropical climate means that unexpected showers, hailstorms and high winds can strike at any time, so it's really important to be prepared for all eventualities, whatever the season. Track conditions are as expected of a great walk track, being mostly well benched and maintained. For the most part, you'll be hiking on a cut, gravel track through rainforest, although there are sections along beaches, boardwalk and historic roads. Day 2 is usually regarded as the worst for track conditions, with the section between Port William Hut and North Arm Hut traversing the wetter and muddier central part of the island. This is often the section of the track that most hikers struggle with, but having experienced worse on Te Araroa, I found that the mud hopping through this section was the most enjoyable of the 3 days. For the most part, side trails along the route are as well maintained as the main track, but if you're more adventurous and wish to extend your adventure to either the northwestern or southern circuits, then expect conditions to deteriorate to a more technical and advanced tramping track suitable only for experienced trampers. Located in the most southerly region of New Zealand, the Rakiura track can be difficult or expensive to access for some. Invercargill is the closest city and acts as the gateway to Rakiura. There are 2 ways to reach the island, by ferry from Bluff or by flight from Invercargill Airport. Invercargill is a great place to base yourself. Although there are accommodation options in Bluff, it can be difficult to travel to and from Bluff without your own car. For those coming from the North Island, transport will usually involve first flying to Christchurch before connecting to Invercargill. For those already on the South Island, short domestic flights and coaches provide great options for getting to Invercargill. Or you can bring your own car to Bluff. Just be aware that you'll have to pay for parking at the ferry terminal. Prices are linked in the description below. The Foveaux Strait crossing, whether by air or water, is one of the most notorious in New Zealand, with this 40-kilometre stretch of water between Bluff and Oban known for its rough, sickness-inducing seas and strong winds. For those choosing to fly, Stewart Island Air operates a popular 20-minute direct flight from Invercargill for the relatively affordable price of $112.50 one way. Stewart Island Experience is the only ferry operator on the Foveaux Strait. With twice daily departures from both Bluff and Oban, they offer the most flexible options for transport to and from the island. A seat on one of their passenger-only catamarans costs just $79 for adult or $14 for children one way. They also offer convenient shuttle transfers between Invercargill and Bluff for an additional $28 per adults and a time to connect with each ferry departure and arrival. And I've linked to all of the pricing details and booking details for these companies and operators in the description below, so make sure to check that out. Once on the island, getting to the trailheads will be your next concern. It's possible to hire cars and scooters from the Oban Visitor Centre, but the cost of doing this may be prohibitive for somebody undertaking a multi-day trip. Stewart Island Experience offers shuttle transfers to Lee Bay on inquiry, or else you can walk the short distances to and from the trailheads. It takes around 1 to 1.5 hours to walk from Oban to the Lee Bay start, and about 20 to 30 minutes to walk from Ferngully Road back to Oban. There are also options to take water taxis from Oban to both Port William and North Arm Huts if you prefer not to undertake the full track length. Despite its isolation from the rest of New Zealand, the Rakiura track is one of the jewels in the Department of Conservation's crown. Not only is the majority of the track very well graded, but there are also ample facilities spaced at convenient intervals along the way. All major water crossings along the Rakiura track are bridged, with side tracks to avoid high tide inundation and bad weather around some areas. There's a scenic swing bridge at the end of the Māori Beach beach walk, and an opportunity to explore the island's logging history, with tractor relics and old sawmill sites along the way. Due to its shorter length, there are less campsites and hut facilities than on other Great Walks, with a total of just 3 campsites and 2 huts. Each campsite either has a specially built platform for you to pitch a tent on, or a relatively flat grassy area with its own toilet, water supply and cooking shelter. At North Arm campsite I also noticed a fire pit for those chillier evenings. The huts at both Port William and North Arm are large and spacious, with plenty of seating and room inside for the maximum 24 hut occupant capacity. Both huts have a toilet and water supply, although it is always a good idea to check the DOC website to confirm the available facilities and check for any alerts before you leave. At $24 per adult during the Great Walk season at the time of this video, the Rakiura huts are some of the cheapest in the Great Walks network, and campsites are just $6 per adult per night. New Zealand resident children can stay for free all year, although all bunks and sites must be booked year-round via the DOC booking website, which again I've linked in the description below. As with all other Great Walk tracks, during peak season there are wardens stationed at both of the huts. These wardens will check your booking and give you an update on track conditions, but they may also offer talks on the history of settlement in the region and the environment itself. Wi-Fi and cell phone coverage is limited on the Rakiura track, but the wardens have access to a radio for emergencies if necessary. Of course, one of the main attractions of Stewart Island is the chance of spotting kiwi in the wild. Kiwi outnumber people on Rakiura, with a population of around 20,000 in and around the island. Despite being nocturnal birds, kiwi sightings also sometimes occur during the daylight hours, especially if hikers are attempting the less well-travelled northwestern or southern circuits, or are setting out early on the trail in the morning. There's plenty of information at each of the huts about how best to spot kiwi. In general, they'll start to emerge from their burrows around 30 minutes before full dark, and their piercing calls can be heard distinctly throughout the night. If you plan to go kiwi spotting during your time on the island, make sure to use the red light on your torch or a red filter over your normal white light. Red filters were provided by the wardens at the huts when I was hiking the track. And this is one of those occasions when you should look with your eyes rather than capture a memory with a lens. An accidental camera flash will startle a kiwi bird and probably do more harm than good. To get an idea of what I pack for a multi-day hike in New Zealand, check out my Te Araroa gear list, which I will link for you up here and also in the description below. In my opinion, wherever you're hiking in New Zealand, carrying a personal locator beacon is non-negotiable. It's a good habit to get into and may just save your life if you get into a tricky spot. Adequate wet weather gear is also important and may drastically reduce your chances of getting hypothermia. Invest in a proper waterproof jacket, not just a thin showerproof layer. My first day on the track, despite being the beginning of summer, was punctuated with heavy downpours and strong winds. There's very little technical hiking on Rakiura, so this track could easily be hiked in a good pair of hiking shoes or even trail runners. Day 2 is really the day where you might need a sturdier pair of footwear, especially if you're unsure on your feet, because navigating slippery routes and sucking mud through the middle of the island can take some effort. Some people might prefer waterproof footwear through this section, but bear in mind that waterproof shoes can take longer to dry out. If you need some advice on how best to choose the perfect hiking shoe or boot for you, I did recently make a video on this which I'll link for you up here. I'd urge you to give up any notion of keeping your feet dry and clean early on. It'll be almost impossible to reach camp at the end of the day without having at least one incident, so give into it early and just have fun. A set of trekking poles will help to stabilise you on your feet, and you can poke and prod at muddy sections to figure out the best way through. Water supply between huts and campsites is limited to just a few small streams. Although tank water is provided, it's not pre-treated, so using a water filter like the Soya Squeeze or Katadyn Be Free will save you from any nasty stomach ailments. In a pinch, boil water over a rolling boil for 3 minutes before using it to kill any harmful bacteria. As with any hike in New Zealand, I always recommend that hikers pack adequate sun protection from the harsh UV rays, but you'll also want to make sure that you have plenty of insect repellent for this track. Although tiny, sandflies pack a harsh bite and will have your skin looking like a polka dot blanket and itching for days. You're likely to encounter hundreds of sandflies, if not thousands, every day on Rakiura, and they'll accumulate mostly when you stop to take a break or at the huts and campsites. So make sure that you have long clothes to cover up with and repellent for those hard to cover areas. Taking the opportunity to explore Rakiura was one of the highlights of my summer hiking season, and I especially enjoyed being immersed in a pristine and prehistoric environment so isolated from mainland New Zealand. Rakiura is a great place to visit for a normal holiday, but why not push the boat out and opt for a more immersive and interactive experience on the Rakiura Track, perhaps the most unique of New Zealand's great walks.